aspirants, I welcome you all to editorial analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Today's date is 25th of March 2025. Now displayed here are the list of articles that we are going to discuss today. In this first article, we'll be discussing about the habitual offenders law that is currently applicable in different states. And in the second article, we'll be discussing about the food wastage index that has been released very recently. And we'll be seeing what are all the impacts the food wastage will cause on the environment and how it can be rectified based on the household level as well as systematic level. So without any delay, let us get into the article discussion. Now look at this news article about habitual offenders. Now currently habitual offenders is in news because last year itself Supreme Court has asked the states to reconsider the implementation of Habitual Offenders Act. But currently, as per Lok Sabha's data, nearly 14 states have are implementing these laws even today. So from the mains perspective, we have to learn about the basics about these habitual offenders, and we have to learn why these states are even today implementing these acts. So we shall start with who are habitual offenders. Before that, you have to learn about the syllabus under which this particular topic falls. So it will be coming under both governance as well as social justice. So under governance, the reforms part of this will be asked as a question, and when it comes to the social justice part, the people who have been oppressed for a so long period of time, even they should get rights. So those kinds of things will be asked under social justice. So we shall see who are these habitual offenders. So habitual offenders are people who are repeatedly convicted of crimes. So when we talk about the NCRB data, literally 1.9% of 1.29 lakh convicts has been classified as habitual offenders, and it is highest in Delhi, which is 21.5%. So you can use all the data in your mains answer writing. Now, talking about the origin of the habitual offenders law, it has the colonial backup. When we take 1793 regulation. So when we take 1793, Regulation 22 has empowered the magistrate to imprison communities based on suspicion. So this is the actual exact origin of this habitual offenders law. In 1860 to 1861, that is the time when the IPC was actually framed. During the framing of IPC as well as CRPC, they had a separate section for dacoits and thugs. In 1871, the Criminal Tribes Act, in short called as CTA, was introduced. This term introduced the term criminal tribe, and based on this only, in 1924, the criminal tribes has been identified across colonial India, and it has expanded the criminalization of communities. Now moving on, after the post-independence, we had certain developments. In 1952, we actually repealed the CTA, which is nothing but the Criminal Tribe Act, which identifies the communities who are habitually offenders, and this has been reclassified as denotified tribes, nomadic tribes as well as semi-nomadic tribes. Then when we talk about state laws, certain states even today they are implementing these habitual offenders law. In 1948, Madras Restriction of Habitual Offenders Act, it even extended to Delhi. 1951, and in 1953 to 1970, similar laws has been adopted in Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Karnataka, Goa, and etc. Moving on, we shall see how habitual offenders are defined in states. See, crime, the people who does the crime, being a thug, a gang involvement, and earning from prostitution and luring offences, they are classified under this particular habitual offenders in states. And based on these classification, they have even developed a procedural mechanism, and certain states they maintain registry, and even in jail manuals they include habitual offenders, and some states they designate erstwhile criminal tribes members as habitual offenders. A very good example for this is Rajasthan. Then we shall see what is the legal status across India. Certain states are supporting it and certain states are not supporting it. When we talk about the supporting states, we have Gujarat. They claim law does not target any community, but it is there for safety. And the Uttar Pradesh, they are telling that it covers under UP control of Gundas Act 1970. If you know what is this Gundas Act, you can leave that in the comment section. When we talk about Goa, there is no denotified tribe, nomadic tribe as well as semi-nomadic tribe. Hence, there is no need to repeal in that particular state. When we talk about the opposing states, there are Punjab, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana. law is these states tell that these laws are not required for the states, and 9 states they have never enacted or repealed this particular Habitual Offenders Act. Now, moving on, we shall see about the legal challenges as well as Supreme Court's view. Supreme Court has already said to revisit the definition as well as the act to different states. However, even today, the states, literally 14 different states, are upholding this particular act, and that is why it made news today. Now, we have to see what can be done. We have to first review the relevance of the act. So the states they should assess the necessity of the act in the first place. Secondly, they have to bring fair legislation. This should avoid stigmatization of communities. Thirdly, we have to bring in lot of empowerment programs. So when people are brought with empowerment by giving upskilling things, so they will be focusing on rehabilitation and reintegration instead of going to crime. And we have to bring in lot of sensitization, even police training to prevent biases should be brought in, and this can be done through capacity building as well as training. So we can tell that habitual offenders law is even today contested, and the balance, we have to balance the security with human rights, and we have to repeal or reform is necessary for justice as well as inclusion, and for that we have to for sure take a step. And based on this discussion, we have framed a Bain's practice question for you. Let me read out the question. Do habitual offenders law in India uphold justice or reinforce systematic discrimination? Critically analyze. So you have to give both the positives and negatives of it, and you have to analyze both the positives as well as negatives, and you have to suggest a way forward. So this is actually a 10 marker question, and you have to write answer for 150 words. You can write an answer and post it in the comment section so that we can review your answer. Now look at this news article. This article talks about food wastage. Now currently it is in news because of a report released by UNEP. So from the mains perspective, we have to look at the important facts from the article. So before that, we shall see about the syllabus under which this topic falls. So, and in prelims it covers and it comes under environment sustainable development goals, and under mains it will be coming under GS paper 2 as well as GS paper 3. In GS paper 2 under governance it will be there, and GS paper 3 it will be under food security. Now moving on, we shall see about why what the report is actually telling. So the UNEP Food Wastage Index report 2024 has been released, and it reveals that 1.05 billion tons of food is wasted globally in 2023, and India is among the top contributors. See, India, we have the highest population in the world, and when it comes to the highest population, the food production is also maximum. When the food production is maximum, the wastage is also maximum, and we cannot neglect that. And due to that factor, India is among the one of the top contributor when it comes to food wastage, and 78 million tons of food is annually wasted in our country. This includes wedding ceremonies and lot of ceremonies as well. Moving on, we shall see about key facts about this food waste index report of 2024. It is released by UNEP and WRAP, and it defines food waste as a removal of food from the human food supply chain. And there is a very sharp difference between food wastage as well as food loss. When we talk about food loss, it happens due to improper storage of the produce that happens after that is taken from a land. So we'll be cultivating crops, and the cultivated crops will be harvested, and post harvest they will be processed a little bit, and it will be transported or it will be stored, right? So during this process, even before entering the retail market or the wholesale market, the wastage that is happening is called food loss. So it will not even reach the market itself, so those will be called as food loss. And the other thing, after reaching the market and even after the consumption, certain things which are not used to do, which cannot be consumed, so those kinds of losses will be called as the food wastage. Now moving on, we shall see about India's position. So India is the second largest highest food wastage nation after China. First comes China, and next comes India. So the per capita when we talk about the per capita waste, India has 55 kilograms per year. So if you are taking a person, if you're taking an individual as a me, if I'm a person, I'll be wasting 55 kilograms per year, which is the highest. And the United Nations, they waste literally 73 kilogram per year. Now moving on, we shall see about what measures are. Now we shall see about how these food wastage will have an impact on environment. See, actually food production is a resource intensive thing, so which means a lot of time, energy, as well as capital is involved in food production. So the food wastage will account to 10 to 12 percentage of municipal waste in India, and it generates methane emission, which is a potent greenhouse gas, and it will contribute to 8 to 10 percentage of global greenhouse gas emission. So this is a very big drawback when it comes to resource intensive products. So when it is resource intensive, it will bring a very big impact on environment. It will lead to pollution, it will lead to depletion in the first place and to produce. So after production also it will lead to pollution. And the second issue is, despite being the major producer of food, India is even struggling for food accessibility. It is not properly decentralized, and all the individual is not actually getting the adequate food that they require. And when we talk about the food wastage, it will hinder the process towards sustainable development goal 2, which is zero hunger, then sustainable development goal 12.3, which is reducing food wastage at retail and consumption level. Now moving on, we shall see about what can be done. This is with respect to household level. So we have to smart meal planning. So smart meal planning is nothing but you have to prepare a list of what you're going to consume for the particular week or a particular month. Particular week will be less time consuming. So based on your schedule, you have to buy groceries, which will lead to very reduced wastage of food. Secondly, we have to bring in effective storage. So even after planning lot of things, if the storage is not done properly at the household level, it will lead to wastage, which will again contribute to per capita wastage. So we have to store it properly. So thirdly, we have to bring in creative leftover usage. See, there is a lot of even after food, even after being non-edible, it can be used in different ways, so that we can reduce the wastage that goes into landfills. So this can be done. We can bring in compost pit, we can bring in we can recycle it for n number of times if we cannot consume it. So those kinds of creative leftover usages can be done, and we can bring in composting, as I said. And finally, we have to donate surplus food. So for donation also, a lot of NGOs are there. We can bring in lot of tie-ups, we can connect all the NGOs, so that we can give the surplus food which is going to waste. So when we talk about the systematic level, we have to bring in a lot of infrastructure development. So this infrastructure development will reduce the pressure that is put on the environment. And secondly, we have to bring in a lot of business initiatives. So there are a lot of businesses that work based on the food waste itself. For example, there is a business where people grow worms. These worms will be feeded to hens. So these worms can be grown using the food waste that is generated. So those kinds of business initiatives can be appreciated, and for that we have to bring in a lot of research and development. And again, government has to give incentive according in that particular part as well. And then we have to bring a lot of education and awareness. We can even train, we can make even smaller kids to learn about it, and we can help them to grow with the awareness mentality. And we can bring in a lot of government in policies. For example, we can bring in subsidized food redistribution network. Remember this redistribution network. We can bring in better storage facilities, expand the initiatives like save food, share food. So we can do those kinds of things. So finally, we can tell that food wastage is a very important part that we have to focus on. And when we are talking about India, not only pollution through air is a pollution, but also pollution through land is a very important thing. And main contributor to food, main contributor is food wastage. So we have to reduce food wastage so that we can reduce the carbon footprint, and we can bring in lot of food security and make food accessible to each and every individual in our country. So for that, we have to bring in lot of collaborative effort from government, businesses, and individuals. So these are all very important facts that you have to remember from this article. So based on the article discussion, we have framed a mains question for you. You can quickly go through the question and you can write an answer and post it in the comment section. So with this, we came to the end of the news article discussion. If you like the video, hit like, do comment, and don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Now, thank you so much for listening.